All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for today's broadcast in St. Lear 13, as we are about to get underway here for Stint 2 out of 12 for TORA's 24 Hours of Daytona. Your pole setter for Stint 2, and basically the entire grid order is going to be a mirror of what it was in Stint 1. Hilfiger will be up front, DMS Idol will start second, PTR Device will be third, TBR Nico will be fourth, Neil Rick will be fifth, AMS Beast will be starting sixth, HYZ Jorluki will be seventh, then Al Carbon eighth. We'll give you a little bit quicker of a rundown when we load onto the circuit here, but do be aware we are not having the full pace lap at the start this time by. We're going to be going very, very early in this lap. That also means that the tire strategy will likely go through a slight adjustment here, and we're going to try and keep you on board and aware of how these changes play out. Two, one. All right, and they start rolling. It will be a single file start, so this will be great news for Hilfiger, who will be able to start right at the very head of this field. We're going to turn the ticker off just for the moment. But DMS Idol, who's going back-to-back, Idol finished third. Could have been an easy second, but ran out of fuel in the final 20 seconds and slipped to third at the end of the prior stint. He'll be looking to try and make up ground from that this time, as they come around turn one, and we'll see them fire it off shortly after they come out of this little turn 2-3 mini S. Okay, so they're gonna wait until after the hairpin. Okay. I know in the past, way back, they've done it out of the S, but it looks like they're gonna wait until they're out of the hairpin. Idol is right underneath Hilfiger here, and Hilfiger gets a jump. Idol was close, but Hilfiger jumped Idol at the start, and these two have already gapped third and fourth place. Nico immediately gets by Device. Nope, Device is still ahead of Nico. It looks like that's a ticker mess up there, but it is Hilfiger who leads Idol right now. So Hilfiger first, DMS Idol in second. Neil Rick has already fallen back to the 10th position. Now 11, so Neil Rick already dropped out of the top 10. Another rough start for the IARA Porsche. But now they're onto the straightaway for a first time. Idol has a draft off of Hilfiger. Is this going to be enough for him to try and pull up alongside going into the bus stop chicane? No, he'll stay in line behind for now. Meanwhile, farther back, this is AMS Beast, who had that massive pace, but an awful strategy. He's already trying to make up some ground. He looks high, gets blocked there. Al Carbon is going to get ahead, and now Al Carbon is trying to go the long way around TBR Nico here for the 5th position. They'll be side by side as they come off of Speedway Turn 4, and Beast is right there. He's got a fantastic run. They're still side by side. I don't think Beast has the confidence to go side by side with this duo. It looks like Nico will hold on. Oh, and Leakard. Was that Leakard who went off? No, it wasn't Leakard. I think it may have been Vorm. Yeah, it was Vorm who went a little bit wide there, going through turn one. He'll try to make the comeback. Goes deep in. He'll get back by Leakard. Now he pulls up alongside Silent Drifter. He'll clear Silent Drifter coming out of the corner. Drifter now falls back to 10th. And at the front, Idol has gotten by Hilfiger. Hilfiger runs right behind. Big slide by the Jag. Hilfiger stays right there in the draft. PTR Device a little bit farther back, but it is definitely a two-man fight at the very head of this field right now. Positions are swapping wildly farther back in the grid, but it is Idol and Hilfiger at the head here. Coming around the outside, that is Hilfiger, who clears Idol before they get to the braking zone of the bus stop chicane. And now it will be Idol who will have the draft off of Hilfiger on what is, well, it's not a true straightaway, because you do go through Speedway turns 3 and 4. This is the longest straightaway on the circuit. But as Idol lost too much time to Hilfiger, he might be out of drafting range. Hilfiger will lead this lap easily. Meanwhile, farther back... Oh, and there's been chaos. That is Neil Rick's been involved in an accident. Leishard's been involved in an accident. Leishard doesn't have any damage, though. He's able to get going. He should be able to get going, but he's having a lot of trouble getting the car pointing the right direction. But chaos and accident early on here, and Neil Rick, that car is destroyed on every corner. Everything is ruined on Neil Rick's car. No one else is pitting, but this was the car, mind you, that won in Stint 1. And now Neil Rick wrecks early on here in Stint 2. Not even 4 full minutes in, and we've had an accident. And the driver that has had the accident was the one that is driving the car that won in the first stint. So chaos early on here. And this will drop Neil Rick behind the GTO category as well. BFL Striker is your leader in the GTO category. He's already pulling out a bit of a gap on Joe Kimbo right now. Then you have Flavored Adams, who's running third. Fourth place in this category is DMS Greek. Then it is Stormy and Boiled Bird, who are having a fight for the last few positions, 5th and 6th. Your leader is Hilfiger, who is pulling away from DMS Idol. Then you have HYR Derluki, PTR Device, and then AMS Beast, AFMG Vorm, All Carbon, Silent Drifter, and then Nico and Ekok. Oh, and Stormy goes off there. Goes off again. He's actually going to hold up Boiled Bird. Bird has to hit the e-brake to not run to the back of that machine. No damage when he hit the e-brake there, but not a great run for Boiled Bird. Your top 4 are all relatively close to each other. Beast has pulled away. So, while the IARA prototype had a great run in Stint 1, it is an accident early on that has put Neil Rick way behind the field here in Stint 2. And already we're seeing a significant amount of spread in this category. AMS Beast is once again running these really fast laps. He is burning down the Nicotina Moore to run down the drivers ahead. Okay, so 4-stop and 5-stop strategies seem to be the way to go based off of the last stint. Now, the big difference, though, is that now there's not that extra 3 minutes that you can save, not under pace speed, but the track is more rubbered in. So I'm really curious to see how the strategy is going to differentiate now. Meanwhile, there's a 3-way fight, or 3-way stalking battle for a lead in the GT category. It is Striker, Joe Kimbo, and Flavored Adams. And mind you, these 3 will have to deal with Neil Rick rushing up through the grid momentarily here. So a little bit of traffic is going to have an impact on this group early on. But it is the Merker entries right now in the GTO category that are leading. We'll likely see Neil Rick catch these 3 by the time they come down to the start-finish line based on the ridiculous... Oh! Nico is already pitting! Why is Nico pitting so early? Is there damage on Nico's car that we've missed? Yes, significant engine damage on Nico's machine. And that's going to derail their run as we once again look at the GT fight here. Does not look like, though, that Flavored Adams has anything for Joe Kimbo. And Kimbo, I don't think, is close enough to have draft off a Striker here. We're going to see Neil Rick flying up through this group here. He needs to be very careful navigating this traffic. Again, this car won in Stint 1, but an accident early here in Stint 2. They're already trying to dig themselves out of a hole. Not the greatest time trying to get around that Texaco Merker. That's going to bring Joe Kimbo up right behind BFL Striker. Oh, and Joe Kimbo hits the inside wall. Big slap, but no damage. He'll be able to continue. So Joe runs behind BFL Striker now. But it is Hilfiger who has pulled out a gigantic gap over DMS Idol. But we have to wonder, what's the strategy? Well, they've already got a lot of tire wear. I think that tells us that they've probably thrown on some softer tire compounds early on to try and open up a gap. This is DMS Idol with a lot less tire wear. So yeah, I think Hilfiger has put on some softer rubber. This is Derluki, who is already up into the 3rd position. It looks to me like Idol and Derluki are running probably something closer to the medium tire. This is Beast, He's going a little bit faster than the 3 ahead, but he did not have the greatest start. He's trying to run them down. He's already passed our 5th place driver here, PTR Device. Nico has actually still ended up ahead of Neil Rick, despite having that massive engine damage in early pit stop. This has also put Leachard up into the 10th position. Silent Drifter is running in 9th. Richard E. Kruk is here in the 8th position. Then you have AFC Carbon here in 7th. Vorm runs in 6th. A little bit farther up the road. Already Hilfiger about to start running through our GTO category cars. But again, the big thing though is that we do not know how long Hilfiger is actually going to stay out on this set of tires. But he's going to have to navigate some traffic here. That is DMS Greek and Stormy, who are legitimately having a fight. Audi on Audi action here for 4th and 5th position. You see Hilfiger, your leader in the prototypes, coming up behind this duo. He'll shoot to the inside. And while the Audi has great initial acceleration out of these slower corners, they just don't have anything for top end. So it's not really too much of an issue for the prototypes to get by them, it would appear. But this is where it gets really interesting, because now we're getting to drivers who are really fighting for position on track. Idle has to go the long way around. Boiled Bird there. Bird just pulls completely off circuit, not trying to be a problem whatsoever. The more often that the prototypes catch GTO traffic in a straight line, the less of an issue it's going to be. So Idle should be able to clear these Audis with no problem whatsoever. Hilfiger is going to be just a little bit frustrated, though. It looks like he's going to catch Flavored Adams here coming out of the bus stop chicane. Not the worst. He'll make it work. He'll stick without too much issue. Not a great run out of there by Jorluki. It's actually going to bring Beast up just a little bit closer now. Traffic management showing a little bit of importance early on. This is Hilfiger. He needs to get by the leaders in GTO. He's going to go the long way around, but ends up with that Texaco Merker right in front of him, blocking him on the run out. Big slide, still can't get by the Merker. Hilfiger's really being held up. Now he'll go deep into the first International Horseshoe, and he's out. He's by. And it's clean track ahead for Hilfiger, but for one problem. He's burnt his tires up, and he only has 11% left in fuel. He's going to have to pit in the next lap or two. That is not going to be the case for the drivers farther back. Idle already making his way through the field, and Beast has gotten by Jorluki. Or not, no. I was wrong. Tinker was a little bit held up, but these two are basically nose to tail as they're navigating their way to traffic. Wow! Beast very nearly hit that machine. Jorluki holds 3rd, Beast in 4th. Beast has been repeatedly the fastest driver on field, but did not have a good strategy in Stint 1. Can he make the strategy work here in Stint 2? He is right behind Jorluki as they're coming up on some more traffic. Both of the prototypes will go high the long way around. The 275 machine still holding on to this podium position right now. Beast has a run. Does he go for a dive? No! Jorluki will clear your leader in GTO going into the bus stop chicane, and Beast is held up the entire time through. Now Beast is out, but the gap between Beast and Jorluki opens up. Beast has a draft. Beast has tire top end, running the gap down as it goes through turns 3 and 4. Can Beast try and pull up alongside Jorluki? I don't think it's going to happen, but he is pushing, coming up into the banking of the tri-oval. Beast looking to the outside. He is right underneath the rear wheel of Jorluki, but he cannot make the move going into turn 1. Not this time. Jorluki holds on to 3rd position for just a little bit longer, but there's no more traffic for him to utilize. Beast is almost burnt up through all his tires. There's been critical amount of time loss. He has not been able to clear this driver here. We are anticipating to see Hilfiger and Beast likely pit at the end of this lap, and the lead will go to DMS Idle. But Beast is trying to get by Jorluki here. Richard E. Kruk going ahead and making a stop only 14 minutes into the first stint. Coming out of corner and now firing it off through the banked turns 3 and 4. Banked turns 1 and 2. And now it seems like Beast is struggling a bit with that tire fall off. He is not able to keep up with Derluki now. Is Hilfiger gonna pit this lap? That is the big question. We look at the fuel left in the tires. He's at 4% fuel. He's got 61% wear on the front tire, 66 on that right rear. He's gotta pit this time, and he will. And that will give the lead over to DMS Idol here. So Idol now will go and inherit the lead once again. So DMS Idol is going to try and redeem himself from running out of fuel and throwing away second position back in Stint 1. We'll be back momentarily here at Daytona after these messages. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome you back here to Daytona. We're looking at 8YZ Derluki, and just up the road from him is DMS Idol. Derluki and Idol are choosing to run a little bit harder tire compound here in the early stages of this stint. But right now, Idol has the advantage when it comes to tire life. Only 51% wear, but 15% in the fuel tank for Derluki, who is just behind. He's got less fuel in the tank and more tire wear right now. So I think Derluki is burning down the Nicotina more, trying to run down DMS Idol. The thing is, once Derluki catches Idol, I don't know if he's going to have anything to actually make the overtake on Idol, and I think Derluki may have to pit a lap earlier than Idol here. We're not quite 20 minutes into the event. If everyone pits once every 20 minutes over oh wow, big slide by Derluki out of the bus stop chicane. But if everyone pits once every 20 minutes, then they would be locked into a 4-stop strategy, basically pitting on average once every 20 minutes. If you're pitting closer to every 13 to 14 minutes, you're likely going to be looking at a 6 or 7-stop strategy, which is what we saw Beast run in the prior stint. But the 4-stop and the 5 stops were the way to go earlier. A 5-stop strategy would necessitate pitting about once every 15 to 16 minutes. Yeah, it looks like Derluki, just about the time he gets into the draft of Idol, they get into the infield, and this is where these worn-out tires are really going to cause him some issue. Derluki is already in the 60% wear range, and Idol is just cruising. He's only at 56% wear right now. Most of the rest of the prototype category have kind of settled in right now. The biggest frustrating part is probably Neil Rick, who was involved in a big accident in lap 2. Sadly, we did not see what happened because we were focusing on drivers farther up the grid. But Neil Rick, this car that won in Stint 1 by a massive margin with a strategy masterclass, an accident on lap 2 has put them way behind the 8 ball. Just to second place Nico, there is multiple seconds. It's going to take Neil Rick a long time just to try and break back into the top 10 if he even can. And then you have Hilfiger, who pitted very early, put on soft tires. We do not know what their overall long-term strategy is, though. But he is on an alternate strat compared to our top 2. Oh, Idle is pitting, but Derluki on very worn tires is staying out. I'm shocked that this is happening because Idle absolutely had the fuel and tires to go and stay out for another lap or two. But Derluki on very worn fuel and tires is going to go another lap. So Idle and Derluki have a 1 lap difference between them. But interesting enough, Idle has the advantage to go farther, but did not push it. Also, AFC All Carbon will join him in the pits. So Hilfiger will inherit what should be the overall lead over Idle off the back of Hilfiger already being on track for some time. And you have Silent Drifter here, who is running in 5th. Silent Drifter brought it home 4th on a strategy that only had 3 pit stops. And he may be on a similar strategy again here. Doesn't have to worry about making overtakes. He just needs to make sure that drivers on faster tires are held up a respectable, not massive, but a respectable amount, and then just avoiding accidents and minimizing time in pit lane. It brought Silent Drifter a top 4 result in the prior stint. But your leader right now is Derluki. Big slide and twitch coming out of the bus stop chicane. Those tires are almost at 70% wear on that right rear. He's got to come into the pits this time by. And he will. So Derluki will pit. What of our current second place driver? Nope, PTR Device will pit this time as well. What of Vorm? He is 3rd, he's gonna come in, so that will give the lead back to Hilfiger now. And Silent Drifter will go up into the 5th position. So DMS Idle on the slightly more conservative strategy. Where is Idle gonna end up in relation to Derluki? Derluki stayed out for an extra lap, but Idle has not had any tire fall off compared to Derluki. That last lap for Derluki was absolutely a struggle. And yeah, Idle is going to massively clear. You can see him overtake him right there. So yeah, no issue whatsoever. Idle well clear of Derluki. Derluki probably should have pitted the lap earlier, and Idle probably could have stayed out an extra lap. The only thing that Derluki has is that he will have a 1 lap positive buffer against Idle going forward. But with Idle being a little bit better at managing fuel and tires, it may not have a big impact. But your leader, once again, is Hilfiger, followed by Silent Drifter. This is Beast, who has actually ended up ahead of Derluki. Beast is on the same strategy as Hilfiger, although I would argue that Beast is a little bit faster than Hilfiger. I'm really interested to see what their longer-term strategies are going to be. Because that 6-7 stop strategy, yeah, about 6-7 stops, it did not work. You know, I put a 6 in one hand and 7 in the other hand. I try to weigh them. 6-7 doesn't seem to be the winning strategy today. 35% wear already for Hilfiger, so I feel it is very likely that he is already on another run on the sauce. What of Beast here? 20%, so I think Beast has gone ahead and put on a harder tire compound. They do not want to repeat that all-soft strategy. So while Hilfiger is looking at about 6-7 stops right now, if he goes all softs to the end, Beast is definitely on a harder tire compound and will be out here for a little bit longer. Interesting thing will be Silent Drifter. We could see Silent Drifter briefly go into the lead here. I don't think that will happen, but it is possible that Silent Drifter briefly inherits the lead if Hilfiger burns his tires all up. And the gap between the two is not massive. So again, Silent Drifter is making this strategy of going really long on the harder tires work. And you have DMS Idle here. He is the leader of all the drivers who started on the medium tires. Neil Rick is finally making his second stop. Should only be his first stop, but again, involved in that lap 2 accident. And that has basically trapped him well behind the 8 ball. Just breaking back into the top 10 would be one. And here we are, Joe Kimbo pitting out of the lead in the GTO category, and he'll be joined by BFL Striker, then it will be Flavored Adams and Stormy. DMS Greek and Boiled Bird both have already made their first stops in the GTO category, but the GTOs have really spread out very early on this stint. Even though we've not had a disconnect this stint, the GTOs just have not really been able to do anything wild thus far. DMS Idle is running down on Silent Drifter rapidly, and Hilfiger is opening the gap on Silent Drifter. I think it's likely that when Hilfiger pits, even if Silent Drifter doesn't join Hilfiger in the pits, the lead will go right back to DMS Idol, because Idol is just going to destroy Drifter here. Again, we look at Hilfiger, who is going soft, based off of this, what I'm looking at. He's at 46% wear right now. He's got 21. He's got a lot more fuel than he probably needs. And this is Silent Drifter, who's running second. He does not have a lot of fuel left. I think Silent Drifter is going to have to pit, not for tire fall off, but just for fuel. And will maybe not pit at the end of this lap, but will likely pit at the end of the lap after this one. So when he pits, he will have run about 35 minutes or so on track. Again, if you're going for a 3-stop strategy, you would ideally want to pit on lap, let's see here, 100 minutes of racing. If you want to have 4 stints, basically, you want to pit once every 25 minutes, roughly. Silent Drifter has gone much farther than that, but that means that Silent Drifter will have the advantage of jumping onto a softer tire compound a little later in the race. He did that in the last stint, and that paid off wonderfully for him. So right now, he has gone about 25 minutes. If he pits now, he could run this exact same tire and fuel run all the way to the end, but if he stays out another lap and does that for his next few stints, he could potentially put on a softer tire for the very end. Silent Drifter still ahead of Hilfiger, though. Still ahead of DMS Idol. So Idol caught Drifter, but hasn't been able to pass him yet. Is Idol going to try and force the issue here? Yes, he will. Side by side between the two of them. And with those softer tires, Idol blitzes by Silent Drifter for second position. So yes, once Hilfiger pits, which we believe will be at the end of this lap, it will hand the lead back over to DMS Idol. Hilfiger is actually going quite a bit farther on these tires than I thought he'd be able to. This is AMS Beast farther back. Beast is on a harder compound tire, so he has gone soft to mediums, I believe, as he will be the next driver to try and run down on Silent Drifter. And the gap between them is gradually shrinking. Between Idol and Beast, though, Idol has the massive tire advantage because Idol is going medium by the looks of it. Or maybe not. 31% already? What does that compare to Beast's? Oh, so Idol may have gone medium soft, and Beast may have gone soft medium. Getting funky out here when it comes to strategy right now. This is Derluki, who led a lap earlier, but burnt up a lot of time trying to make worn-out tires work. Now he's put on a much harder set of tires going forward. All right, Silent Drifter finally paying out of the third position. So he has gone about 26 and a half, 27 minutes on a set of tires. Again, I think Silent Drifter is going to be committing to these 3-stop runs all the way through today, but everyone else seems to be going for something closer to a 4 or 5-stop run today, I imagine. This also will briefly put PTR Device up into the top 5 once again. Device, I believe, also running a very hard compound tire at the moment. So real quickly, just to show you the changes from the start, Hilfiger and DMS Idol started 1-2. They are still running 1-2. Beast and Derluki have moved up a bunch of positions. PTR Device has dropped some. Vorm has gone from 10th to 6th, it would appear. Silent Drifter now is back to where he was running earlier. Leachard has gotten up into the top 10. The big thing, though, Nico had a lot of engine damage after a bad misshift and has dropped 7 positions, having to make an extra stop due to that. And then Neil Rick was involved in a big accident in lap 2, and similar position for him. He is way behind the 8 ball. He has fallen all the way back to 12th. Joe Kimbo went from 3rd to 1st in the first few laps here in the GTO category, and Stormy went from 6th to 4th in the GTO category as well. Hilfiger now pitting out of the lead. So the lead, once again, will go over to DMS Idol. Idol is going to have to pit sooner rather than later, because he is on what we believe are soft tires. And he'll be joined more than likely by AMS Beast, who is on medium tires, but his first stint was on the soft, so they're both burning through their tires at roughly comparable rates right now. Derluki actually is going to end up ahead of Hilfiger. Mind you, Derluki pit at the same time as DMS Idol. Well, actually a lap later. but then also has gone ahead and thrown on some harder tires. So Derlucchi is likely going to go back into the lead if he can stay far enough ahead of Hilfiger here. Hilfiger comes out in 5th, just ahead of AFMG Vorm. So Hilfiger is the first driver to make the second stop of the day. So strategy is the big name of the game today. It is not really mono-e-mono fights, although we have had some legitimate driver-on-driver action today. It seems like strategy calls are the way to go here at Daytona. But now with no big pace lap to help save the tires in the first run, but a track that's much more rubbered in, while I won't say all the strategies from the last stint are off the table, because they're not, I will say that all the strategies now get shaken up. They aren't going to play out in exactly the same way, so we're going to keep an eye on that. This is your leader on the all-soft strategy right now. It is Hilfiger. He's maintained a decent gap over AFMG Vorm. Once again, a look at DMS Idol, who's making his way through the twisty infield bit. 30 minutes through, and he has hit the 53% wear mark. So this is about the point that Idol pitted last time around. And I imagine we're going to see him pit at about the same point. This is AMS Beast a little bit farther back, who I believe is going to be at roughly the same amount of wear. He's actually doing a little bit better. So right now, Beast is doing a little bit better when it comes to tire life. And then you have Derlucchi, who's way back here in 3rd. He'll likely inherit the lead once our top 2 make a stop. All right. So is Idol pit this time by? No, Idol is pitting this time by. Yes, he is. What of Beast? Does Beast join him in the pit lane? 52%. Does he pit? No, Beast is going to stay out for a lap. So another different leader in today's stint. It's 2. Where's Derlucchi going to end up in relation to Idol? Oh, he's going to be way clear of Idol. What about Hilfiger? Where's Hilfiger going to be in relation to Idol? Similar case, Hilfiger's going to be well clear of Idol, but again, Hilfiger is running an alternate strategy compared to what Idol is doing right now. All right. Well, while we are in the middle of green flag stops, we are going to have to take a Twitch-mandated ad break here. We're going to ride on board for a full lap with your leader in the GTO category, Joe Kimbo, here around Daytona. We'll be back momentarily here for TORA's 24 Hours of Daytona. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Daytona. We're looking at Joe Kimbo, your leader in the GTO category right now. But your leader overall at the moment is AMS Beast. And the first stint on softs, he's now on mediums and is going as far as he can. And now we'll jump into the pits after about 35 minutes for his second stop. So this will likely hand the lead of this race over to this driver here, HYZ Derluki, who ran mediums on the first stint. Looks like they're doing something similar here again. So Derluki goes back to the lead. Where is Hilfiger going to be in relation to AMS Beast? Well, here's your answer. Well clear of him. And just a little bit behind is AFMG Vorm, who still has yet to make his second stop. The tires aren't too terribly worn, so Vorm has gone on some harder tires here. So a lot of the strategies that we were talking about in Stint 1 now being used, but by different drivers throughout most of the field. So no one seems to be in a position to run the exact same strategy that they did earlier. 35 minutes in, so about a little bit more than a third of the way through this run. So right now, one driver we've not really talked a lot about is PTR Device. He's hanging out in the top 5, but we are in a position where it is a lot of wild cards when it comes to strategy. Based off of what the last stint showed us, 4 stops was the ideal way to go, but that was for the Porsche, and we don't really know if a 4-stop strategy is reasonable for the non-Porsches. And we only have one Porsche in the prototype category here. That is Neil Rick's Porsche. And it was involved in a lap 2 accident, so they are, for all intents and purposes, knocked out. Now, the next best strategies were 5-stop and 6-stop strategies, but the driver who was on the strategy but one of those 2 drivers who was on the strategy actually ran out of fuel. And then the driver that came home 4th, although it was a very distant 4th, was on a 3-stop strategy. The only thing we can say for certain is that the 7-stop strategy that AMS Beast committed to last stint did not work out whatsoever. So, 4 stops, 5 stops, 6 stops are like that happy zone, but we don't know if anyone can make the 4 stops work or if that's going to be something that only that Porsche could do. And then the 5 stops and 6 stops are going to be able to make it to the end a lot more confidently, but it's really hard to tell what the difference is going to be between a 5-stop and a 6-stop strategy until we get to the later parts of this run. And if you're on the 5 stops or 6 stops, you're going to be bouncing back and forth between mediums and likely a stint or 2 on the softs. And it's going to be kind of hard to tell when drivers are going to choose to make their soft runs. The only thing I feel real confident in saying is that Silent Drifter at 8th is going to be on the same strat he was last time. Hard, and then we believe after that was a medium. Well, hard, medium. But now he has to deal with a completely different cast of drivers ahead of him. Who knows how it's going to play out. Still, your leader right now is Derluki. Still has quite a bit of life left in the tires, quite a bit of fuel left in the tank as well. Hilfiger runs in second and is running Derluki down. He doesn't have a lot of fuel and is already burning up his tires as well. I think Hilfiger may be committing to going really hard at the soft. So is Hilfiger going to commit to a 7-stop strategy? I would hope not. We saw the 7 stops did not work out in the prior stint, but I wonder if that's what he's going to go for. We're not yet 40 minutes into this run, and Hilfiger is already coming up on his 3rd stop. If Hilfiger is pitting once every 15 minutes, you do the math, 15 goes into 100, 6 times roughly, 7 times. It would be 6 times if you're able to just make the softs last a little bit longer or swap out one of the stints for the harder tires, so So Hilfiger runs in second still, and he is burning down the candle to catch Derluki. But again, we've seen this happen earlier. The driver behind burns up all of his stuff to catch the driver ahead, and he's fast enough to catch him, but the moment he catches him, doesn't really have any good rubber left in the car to overtake the driver ahead. So I'm really curious if Hilfiger is going to actually be able to overtake Derlucci on track. There's also a possibility he may not bother trying to overtake Derlucci on track. He might be content to just run in Derlucci's draft. But with how powerful the draft is, I don't know if that's a reasonable strategy to roll with. The draft is just so bloody strong. It's so bloody good around here. Alright, Hilfiger trying to close back in on Derlucci once more. He's going to get the draft on Derlucci, I imagine, going down the straights. Again, both these drivers have worn tires, but Hilfiger's are much, much more worn than Derlucci's. Is Derlucci going to have to defend, or is Hilfiger just going to be content running in the draft, try to have that driver ahead, pull him around for a good lap, make up for the time he's going to lose in the twisties? That does seem to be the case. Hilfiger not close enough to make the move on Derlucci this time. They fire out of the bus stop chicane now. Around the bends of speedway turns 3 and 4. Hilfiger, they'll clear one of the Audi GTO cars. No attempt at an overtake yet. Hilfiger just seems to be content to run behind Derlucci. Heavy under braking. Nose to tail for a lead here, and Derlucci has to deal with Hilfiger going to the extreme outside. Hilfiger, though, does not have the grip to make it work. Big twitch as he comes out. Derlucci will hold on to the lead. Device will pit out of 4th. Vorm will pit out of 5th. So DMS Idol now shoots up into 3rd place on track. But he's well behind this duo for the moment. So Derlucci is going to have to deal with Hilfiger trying to legitimately go for this position. Both these drivers on worn out tires, though. Bit of a slide by Hilfiger coming out of the corner that time. Still, he runs right behind. Looks to the inside as they come into Speedway Turn 1. Still can't get it, but Hilfiger is much closer to Derlucci than he had been before. He's going to go for the move, trying to go into the bus stop chicane. Closing in, but is not close enough to make a dive. He moved over like he was going to go for a dive, but I think he's trying to catch Derlucci off guard. Oh, Derlucci had a bit of an instant touching the dirt coming out of the bus stop. This is going to be Hilfiger's best shot, his best chance. He's looking at the high side. He falls back in line behind Derlucci. Nose to tail. And Hilfiger's going to pit. Derlucci stays out, but Hilfiger is going to pit. So Hilfiger will not take over the lead. Derlucci continues to lead here. Big slide there by Derlucci. Derlucci went really long on his first stint, but burnt up the tires and lost a lot of time in the process. Yeah, I hate to say it, but I think that same case may happen to him again here. DMS Idol is now moved up into the 2nd spot on track. Silent Drifter still has yet to make his 2nd stop, running on the much, much harder tire compounds. He'll be out here for a little bit, but he is still behind our top 3 of Derlucci, Idol, and Beast. And he's still behind Hilfiger as well. I believe Beast has jumped back onto some soft tires here. But I think Idol and Beast are basically offsetting each other on strategy. One's on mediums, one's on soft, one's on mediums. So we'll see how that plays out going forward. The thing is, though, that Beast ended up falling back a little bit on the start while Idol stayed right at the front. So there's been a gap between the two based off of where they were in traffic at the end of the first few laps. So just because of that, I don't know if we're going to see Beast run down Idol unless Idol has to double run mediums or ends up pushing a set of tires way too far. So if Beast and Idol are on the exact same strategy and assuming they are roughly even on pace, I don't think there's a way that Beast will be able to catch Idol. So it may just be a case where it's Derlucci, Idol, and Hilfiger all fighting with each other. And of them, right now, Derlucci is looking good, but he has not shown the ability to manage his tires like his rivals. So on track, he has good position, but he just keeps bleeding it out as he goes deeper and deeper into these runs. All these drivers around may be on less ideal strategies, but they're doing much better on tire management. We are almost 45 minutes in, about 44 minutes in right now. Again, if you're pitting once every 20 minutes, that's a 4-stop strategy. So if you made your second stop around lap 40, about 45 minutes in, you might still be on a 4-stop, but it may be a 4-stop where you're jumping onto a much, much softer tire compound very late in the running. I think idle here is the real interesting one, because he is most definitely not on 4-stop. He's going to have to make his third pit probably in about 5 to 6 minutes here. Again, in a 3-minute period, you knock out 2 laps. A lap is about 90 seconds or just a little bit less. Nico pitting there in 11th. All right, Durluki comes into the pit this time. So Durluki is not going nearly as deep into the run as he did earlier. He's not looking to try and burn up important time. So this will give the lead back to DMS Idle here. And the lead he had over Beast is pretty significant. And then you have Hilfiger back here in 4th. 5th place is Silent Drifter. Again, Drifter is so far back, he just does not have anything for the top 4. He's got a respectable strategy, but he just loses so much time spending all this time on the harder tires. Wins are not in contention for Silent Drifter, but he is going to be a constant threat for 4th and 5th place results throughout this event. I'm curious to see what his teammates are going to try and run him. For those of you who care about the IARA entrant, Neil Rick, who this car won in Stint 1, although it wasn't Neil who was driving in that stint, but he was involved in an accident in Stint 2 between Speedway turns 3 and 4, and the damage and the required pit stop afterward has trapped him so far back. He has honestly been close to going a lap down. Actually, he has gone a lap down to your leader in category, DMS Idle. So for Neil Rick, it's just everything has gone bad for him and this IARA entrant, which in turn means that DMS Idle might be in contention to really close the gap up amongst all of our C Lobby competitors here. So, DMS Idle is your leader. AMS Beast runs in second, but way off. AMS Beast and Idle appear to be on the same strategy, but the amount of distance between the two of them is just absolutely massive. Also, at this point in the event, all the drivers in the GTO category have now made their second stop. We're not quite halfway through. So those drivers in the GTO, we didn't really talk a lot about it, but the winner in Stint 1, Joe Kimbo, made it on 3 stops only. Everyone else in GTO did 4 stops. I don't know if those drivers in the GTO category will be able to go 3 stops again. Joe Kimbo was the only one to do 3 stops. Wasn't a great strategy, definitely was losing time near the end, but he had a big enough buffer. I wonder if Joe Kimbo is going to try and do a 3-stop strategy again. I'll try to keep an eye on the bottom category going forward, but right now they are all very, very spread out in the bottom category. And it's the top category that's a little bit more active when it comes to strategy wildcards. So we're going to keep an eye. I'm going to try and keep an eye on the bottom category, but right now, not a lot to talk about, except we don't know if anyone's going to try and go for a 3-stop strategy in the bottom category like what we saw in Stint 1. AFMG Vorm and Device just within striking distance of each other. If Vorm has a bit of a slide, bit of a hiccup coming out of the straights, Device is going to be right on him. Just about 20% wear on the tires for Vorm. For Device, about the same amount. So they seem to be even on strategy at the moment. Keeping my eye on Silent Drifter here. Curious to see if he's going to make his next stop anytime soon. He's still not hit the 50% wear mark, though. AMS Beast is running second, but I think there's a high likelihood we're going to see him get caught by Hilfiger. sooner rather than later. Hilfiger has got some fresher rubber and has been absolutely lightning fast today. And then a little bit behind them is H-Wire Derluki, who's on a strategy of his own, trying to go really long on some of these runs. I think he may be on a 4-stop strategy, maybe even a 3-stop. I think it's going to be 4-stop, where he's trying to go medium, hard, hard, hard to the end. It might be medium, hard, hard, medium. We'll probably get a better idea later. But Derluki put on some softer tires to get higher up the grid earlier, but now he's going to be burning up time by burning up some of that advantage by being on harder tires. All right, Idle is pitted. So Idle pits out of the lead just before the halfway point of the event. So if that's his 3rd stop right halfway, that would suggest that DMS Idle is on a 5-stop strategy. AMS Beast, though, is going to stay out a little bit longer. That is Neil Rick in that Porsche that won in Stint 1. He has been a lap down for a while now. And Beast goes into the lead. Idle has fallen well behind Hilfiger. He's fallen behind Derluki. Where is Silent Drifter in relation to DMS Idle? Well, here comes Silent Drifter around the bend. Idle still has not yet come out of pits. All right, there we are. You can see DMS Idle just ahead here. So Silent Drifter did not quite catch Idle. And as the leader in bottom category, Joe Kimbo, splitting the two just for the moment. So Drifter is on worn-out tires, but is right there just a little bit behind DMS Idle right now. So Beast may be managing his tires better than Idle. And if so, while Beast may have a track position disadvantage, it may not be enough to take him out of it. So Beast might be able to claw a result back as this goes forward. Anticipating to see Hilfiger go back into the lead momentarily here. So we are going to go ahead and ride on board for a flying lap with Hilfiger here. Runs in second, likely going to take over the lead. We're going to take a Twitch-mandated ad break. We'll be back momentarily here at Daytona. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you back here to Daytona. We are watching AMS Beast going around, leading. Silent Drifter finally pits out of the 5th position. That will be his 2nd stop of the day. As we watch AMS Beast, he's at track position disadvantage to the other drivers on his strategy, but he seems to be much better at managing his tires right now. Excuse me. Oh, God. Ugh. I apologize for that. But AMS Beast ran on a 7-stop strategy back in Stint 1. And that strategy completely bit him in the rear. He fell all the way down to 9th at the end of that, despite having what was arguably the fastest pace Now, AMS Beast is trying a more conservative strategy, a few less pit stops. He is leading right now. His biggest rival is DMS Idol. Idol has a lot of track position over Beast, but Idol has not been managing the tires quite as well as Beast. We do not know, though, when Beast is going to pit until now. He's coming in now. So that will give the lead of the Stint back over to Hilfiger. But Hilfiger is not going to be out here for a whole lot longer either. His tires are also burning up pretty aggressively. And if you look just behind him, that is the lap car of Neil Rick. But once this leader pits, Neil Rick will get back briefly onto the lead lap. But Derluki here is going to be in position to go back into the lead. Derluki is on a more conservative strategy, but he has not been able to save his tires as well as anyone else. So I think Derluki is on the ideal strategy. He is not showing the ability to make the tires last the way you need to. I feel like everyone else around him may be on a worse strategy, but they have a lot more flexibility because they can make their tires go a lot farther. So I feel like while Derluki is kind of in the overall catbird seat, he is gradually bleeding out and losing time. I could see him very easily getting nipped in the last 15 minutes or so on track for the lead of this Stint. But the question is, we don't know who it's going to be. It might be Idol, it might be Beast. Idol runs in third. As you can see, he is way, way ahead of Beast. This is third on track, and Beast is way behind, about 20 seconds back. But again, these two are on alternate strategies. Similar, but not quite the same. I think that when one's on softs, one's on mediums, and one's on mediums, one's on soft, I think it's going to be Derluki versus Idol for this victory here. Again, I do not have confidence in Derluki making the tires last well enough to pull this off. Hilfiger pitting now with about 45 minutes to go. So if Hilfiger is making what is his fourth stop after 55 minutes of racing, 4 goes into 55. 1, drop the 1. About once every 13 to 14 minutes, Hilfiger is on track to do a 6 or 7 stop strategy. Again, we saw that strategy play out in Stint 1, and it played out horribly. It did not work at all. Now, granted, AMS Beast did have an incident with another driver that caused him and that other driver to spin out, and that did cost him probably about 7-8 seconds. But still, AMS Beast was way more than 7 or 8 seconds out of the top 5. He was closer to like 15 seconds out of the top 5. So unless Hilfiger is going to start jumping on to the medium tires now to make up ground, I don't see this strategy playing out for Hilfiger. He's going way too aggressively on the softs. I just do not see that strategy playing out in a good way for him as this continues. So Idol looking up at Derluki farther up the road. Every now and again they can see each other on this big back straightaway. There's also Vorm and Device. They're not really in contention for the win. They are having a little battle of their own. Device has been stalking Vorm, then Vorm stalks Device. 51% left on that right rear for Vorm, for Device. A little bit better on the tires, but not massively so. Vorm has a little bit more pace. Device has a little bit better tire management. These two have been relatively close to each other most of the day. I could very easily see these two having a fight for what will be somewhere around 4th, 5th, and 6th to the end, depending on where Stunt Drifter and Beast's strategy ends up placing them going to the end here. %. So yeah, Derluki's going to be out here for a little bit longer. I look at DMS Idol, though, in second, who is running him down, but he's already up to 38%. Because again, Idol's running softer tire compounds right now, trying to run him down. PFL Striker pitting early on in the bottom category. Now, mind you, Joe Kimbo has been leading in this bottom category, he led the majority of Stint 1. Did not all of it. He did have a driver nip him early on for a lead, but then that driver disconnected, and Joe Kimbo just kind of cruised to an easy win. But in this GTO, the bottom category, we do not know what the ideal pit strategy is going to be. The winner in Stint 1, Joe Kimbo, only made 3 stops. Everyone else did 4. But Joe had such a massive track position advantage over everyone else, he could make that work without issue. And they had an entire 3-minute period early on under pace speed, which really helps make the numbers a little easier to make. Now, with no pit pace lap and the track being fully rubbered in, I don't know if this 3-stop strategy is going to work out in Joe's favor or not. But the on-track gaps are still big. There's not really been any fighting in the bottom category since the first 10 minutes or so ended. But your leader right now is HYZ Drluki. Also, Vorm has stayed out for another lap while PTR Device... No. Oh, okay. So Hilfiger and Beast are just cutting through the field. Either that or Device had some sort of spin that we missed. Has lost a huge chunk of time because of that. No sign of damage, so I'm guessing that P1R Device had a spin. So that's going to break up the fight that he had been having with Vorm. And this moves Hilfiger and Beast up into 4th and 5th place, respectively, right now. Again, Vorm is likely going to be pitting. Yep, he's pitting this time by. So Hilfiger would now go up into 3rd position. Drluki is your leader. As you see him come up once again on that 188 machine to try and put him a lap down. Neil Rick keeps going a lap down, but then the drivers who are in the lead get, a little bit of bumper-to-bumper contact there. But Neil Rick keeps getting put a lap down, and then the leaders who are putting him a lap down pit shortly afterwards, and Neil Rick keeps cycling back onto the lead lap in the process. 55%. Might be a little bit overfueled. Meanwhile, this is DMS Idol, who is running a little bit faster, is running Drluki down. But tires are also very, very burnt up on his machine as well. And the gap is still relatively big. I don't know if Idol will be able to catch Drluki here, but I do think they're both going to be pitting at about the same point. So we have gone through over half of this event, this Stint 2, over 1 hour through. We have 38 minutes left, because again, that little race timer up in the corner, you don't race until that says 0-0, you race until that says 20 minutes, and all drivers are required to have their 3rd and final stop done before that race timer says 30 minutes to go, basically within 10 minutes. But considering that only one driver really committed to a 3-stop back in Stint 1, well, technically 2 drivers if you want to count both categories, I don't think the mandatory minimum pit requirement is really going to be a big factor in anything. We saw at Le Mans last year, a driver in one of our higher lobbies, I believe it was the B lobby, get a disqualification due to not making a mandatory pit stop. I was gonna have to go the long way around that 670 machine. And he clears him without too much issue. The gap is continuing to close between Idol and Drluki. Hilfiger is the interesting one because Hilfiger is on fresher tires than both of them, but he is way, way far back. So when Idol and Drluki finally make a stop, there's a legitimate possibility that even if Hilfiger gets the lead, he's only going to be ahead of Idol and Drluki by a very small margin. Nico gained by Carbon farther down the grid here. So a little bit of action farther back in the field. A pair of Astons going at each other. No, that's not an Aston. That is... Oh, that's an Aston. No, that's a Merc, isn't it? Yeah, that's a Merc. Well, an Aston and Merc going back and forth, and you saw there, Carbon gets a little wide. All right. Idol pits out of this lead now, so Drluki will go into the lead of the race. Idol pits. How far behind Hilfiger is he going to end up being? Well, Hilfiger's already cleared him, and Beast is also right there behind Hilfiger, mind you. Again, between Beast and Idle, I think that their pit stop strategies are really starting to diverge now. Earlier, it looked like they were both alternating soft, medium, soft, medium, soft, medium, but now we're seeing a lot more divergence between the two of them. The strategies are all over the place. Not a lot of driver-on-driver combat. It has been just a lot of keeping track of everyone's strats. Good news for Druluki is that he has cleared all this traffic. The bad news, though, is that Hilfiger and Beast are going to catch all this traffic in a straight line, so they're going to be no issue for Hilfiger and Beast whatsoever, I imagine. Hilfiger's only at 40%, so I think Hilfiger's finally put on a harder set of tires now, so it can stay out a bit longer. And I might be wrong, Hilfiger is not going to catch the GTO traffic in a straight line. He's going to catch them in the braking zone. That could be an issue. That could really hold him up here. Not the worst. Not the worst thing ever. Not ideal, but not the worst. He will catch, I believe that is Flavored Adams. No, that's Stormy. He'll catch him in a straight line. And Druluki now pits. So Druluki pits only one lap after Idle. So now the lead goes to Hilfiger. And Beast goes into second. And mind you, Beast is not that far behind Hilfiger. And Beast has younger tires, so even if he doesn't overtake Hilfiger on track mano-y-mano, he's going to inherit the lead momentarily when Hilfiger pits in a few laps. DMS Idol ends up back ahead of Druluki by a pretty significant margin. In fact, there is a possibility we could see Vorm. No, Vorm is not going to be there. Vorm is not going to be anywhere near Druluki. So Hilfiger, Beast, Idol, and Druluki are your top four, all on alternate strategies. There's also Silent Drifter, who's running around 6th position on a alternate strategy. We do not believe he is going to be in contention for a top 3, but I do think that we should keep an eye on Silent Drifter for maybe pulling off a 4th or a 5th place result. He brought home 4th in the prior stint. And again, we think that Silent Drifter is doing a 3-stop strategy, the only driver in the prototypes who we believe is going to a 3-stop strategy. Then the bottom split, Joe Kimbo, we believe is also going to try and replicate the 3-stop strategy that brought him a win in the prior stint. His tires are worn out, but he's okay on fuel. The gap between Joe and BFL Striker, though, is about a quarter to a third of a lap. I'd say it's probably closer to about a third of a lap, honestly. So Joe has plenty of lap time that he can afford to bleed out. Everyone else in GT has already made their 3 mandatory stops and is basically guaranteed to make one more stop before the end of this. Hilfiger is your leader. AMS Beast runs just a little bit behind as we ride on board with Beast. You can see Hilfiger just up the road. They're dealing with some clean track right now. I think they're going to catch, I believe that is DMS Greek, on the straightaway. So he's not going to be too much of a factor for this duo. It's just all about lap time, tying out these laps. Again, last year I should say, when TORA did the 24 hours, the strategies were very, very flat. There wasn't a lot of strategy wildness going on. Everyone was doing simple 3 or 4 stop strats. And while the BOP hasn't really gone through a lot of a change, the pit stop strategies have completely shifted and altered around. Gap's still about 1,001, 1,002, 1,003. It's still about 3.25 seconds between Hilfiger and Beast. So I don't think Beast is going to be able to catch Hilfiger before Hilfiger has to normally pit. And that will be his 5th pit stop once he does make his duck into pit lane. So we have done about 70 minutes here of racing in Stint 2. Joe Kimbo pitting now with 31 minutes left. And that's his 3rd stop, so I'm curious to see how much fuel is Joe putting into this car. 80%. So he seems to think that 80% fuel would take him these last 31 minutes or so to the end. BFL Striker is going to be closing in on him, but the thing is that Striker is going to have to pit again shortly for fuel of his own. He's almost out of fuel. Won't happen this time, but you will have to pit sooner rather than later. Joe still in the pit lane, still has not come out. Now he is coming out. Can't see that Texaco machine from Striker yet. Striker hasn't caught him yet. Alright, Striker can see Joe, but Joe now has a tire advantage and shouldn't have to pit again to the end here. Alright, Hilfiger making what is his 5th pit stop of the day. AMS Beast goes into the lead here. So we're going to go ahead and ride on board for a lap with HYZ Derluki. We'll be back momentarily here at Daytona as we ride silently for a lap with our current 4th place, about to be 3rd place driver here on track. All right. Well, here at Daytona, ladies and gentlemen, AMS Beast runs in 1st position right now. 2nd place, DMS Idol. 3rd place is HYZ Derluki. 4th is Hilfiger, who's honestly running down on Derluki at this point. I said earlier, Derluki, I think, has the best strategy, but the problem for Derluki is that he is not managing his tires well enough to make full use of that strategy. He continues to be losing ground to Idol, and now Hilfiger is running him down. AMS Beast finally paying out of the lead. So lead of this race will go back to DMS Idol. Beast and Idol were on mirror image strategies of each other earlier, but now that's starting to deviate as Beast has been getting onto the harder tires, while Idol spent a little bit more time on the softer rubber. 27 minutes left. If you pitted now and threw on hard tires, while it would be rough, you could go to the end without needing to make another stop. And with that in mind, keep an eye on Silent Drifter, because Drifter is going for what we believe is a 3-stop strategy. He's only at 46% tire life right now. If he pits now, he could throw on hards and go to the end without too much issue. However, the deeper and deeper into this run he goes before making a stop, the more and more likely that instead of putting on another set of hards, he might choose to pull on a set of mediums instead and get some extra speed near the very end of this run. So Beast, when he comes out of pit lane, ends up not too far behind Hilfiger, about the same gap. But the big thing is that Hilfiger now has to deal with Derluki. And again, that gap between Idle and Derluki is absolutely massive now. Right on board with Hilfiger. That is Derluki just ahead of him. So Hilfiger staring down at Derluki, and both these drivers pitted relatively recently. Now Hilfiger has made 2 extra stops compared to Derluki at the stage of the event. We believe that Derluki is on a 4-stop strategy. We're anticipating that Derluki will make his final stop in about, 7 minutes or so? I think he'll try and go about, looking real quickly here at Derluki and his current tires. He's at 31 now. If he can go another 7 minutes or so, he can probably throw out a set of mediums and be fine to the end. The numbers I'm looking at, softs can take you about 13 and a half minutes. Mediums will take you about 19 to 20, and then the hards will take you about 27 minutes. Those are the numbers I've been looking at. Those are the numbers I've been calculating. I think that if Derluki can just stay out here for another 5-6 minutes, he can probably throw on mediums and not have to worry about pitting again. The thing is, for Hilfiger here, he's in a similar position. In fact, if he really wants to, he could go try and go a little bit longer and maybe throw on soft. I don't think that's the strategy he's going for. I think he's probably going to try and do something like that. Idle's the other interesting one here. Because we're at 25 minutes to go right now. If Idle stays out on track for another 5-6 minutes, he can jump into the pits, throw on some mediums, be fine to the end, not have to make another stop. So if Idle, Derluki, and Hilfiger all have one more stop to make, and same with Beast, assuming they all have just one more stop to make, I think the current order is going to be very close to what the final result's going to be here. This is the wild card. Beast has not a lot of tire wear on. I wonder if Beast has thrown on hard tires so he can try and pick up positions by just not pitting again to the end of this race. Because he was right behind Hilfiger when he came out of the pits, but has dropped off so much time. But again, I think he's betting on Derluki and Hilfiger needing to pit shortly and jumping back ahead. And Beast was the fastest driver in Stint 1, but went all sauce all the way through. And that strategy just bit him in the butt, and he fell down to 9th in the end. A second place result in this stint would definitely try and put him back ahead. The other driver, remember, DMS Idle, your current leader, ran out of fuel with 20 seconds left in Stint 1. He still was third, but should have been a comfortable second, ended up being a moderately distant third. But the driver who won in Stint 1, well, that car is still trapped in 12th after that lap 2 accident. He has been a lap down for a good chunk of the event and has just shown known capability of getting back onto the lead lap. So, yeah, DMS Idle may be putting himself in position to really turn things around. Then you have HYZ Derluki here. He's trying to make something happen, obviously. No, there's a lot of different potential strategies going on, and we're only in our second stint, mind you. And for those of you who want to see more TORA 24 Hours of Daytona Racing, don't you worry, we will be covering stints 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we're going to be here for about another 8 hours after this stint is over. Derluki holding on to a lead right now. The gap between our top two actually seems to be shrinking just a little bit. But again, it's not enough. 22 minutes left right now. Silent Drifter and Device on top of each other. Mind you, Drifter is trying to do this 3-stop strategy. Device has made a little bit more stops. I honestly thought that Drifter would be a little bit higher up, especially because the winning car last stint is way down in 12th. But it just does not seem like it's working out for Silent Drifter this time by. Granted, though, Drifter still has yet to make their final stop. If Drifter pitted at the end of this lap, they can probably throw on the mediums, and they'll find a little bit of pace to the end, and that could help them out. Easy overtake there by P1R Device. But yeah, I'm starting to lose confidence in Silent Drifter's ability to go and bring home another top 5 result. Both Vorm and Device are well clear of him, and I don't think that anyone in our top 4 is going to make a catastrophic mistake on strategy. Yep, here comes Drifter, pitting with 21 minutes left. So I'm going to guess that Drifter will put on medium tires. They'll be worn out near the end, but I'm guessing they're putting on medium tires to go to the end here. Basically, if you're pitting now, medium tires are probably what you're going to put on and will run to the end of this race. So I imagine Idle is going to be pitting relatively shortly here. Durluki, who runs in second, might be able to stay out for another lap or two. And if he stays out for another lap compared to Idle, he'll have tires that will be slightly better than Idle's going to the end. Then you have Hilfiger, who had been running down on Durluki, but now that gap has massively opened up. And Hilfiger's going to have to pit in another lap or two as well. Beast is kind of the wild card here, because Beast, we're not sure if he put on hard tires or not when he made his stop. If he put on mediums, he's screwed. If he put on softs, he has to make one more stop anyway, but if he put on hards, he won't have to pit again. He's going to be slow, but he won't have to pit again. Idle has stayed out for another lap. This is going to be where it gets a little bit frustrating for him. Well, he doesn't have a lot of fuel, so that means this car is going to be really nice and nimble going through these corners and accelerating out of the corners. Tires are going to be really hard for him to put power down coming out of these corners. And I think Leechard is going to experience running in the top 5 position. For the first time today, Leechard fell well down the order early on, but now for the first time today, he'll be as high up as 5th. He is also on what we believe is a 4-stop strategy, but when he makes his final stop, he is going to be throwing on soft tires. He will be absolutely booking it to the end here. So Leechard might be a fun one to watch going to the end. There's a stopped car there. That is Striker. This was the driver ranked second in GT. Oh, and this car is destroyed. Every single aspect of this car is ruined. What's happened to Striker? Nico is in the pits right now. Well, whatever's happened to Striker, this car didn't finish Stint 1. It was the only DNF in the last stint. And now a big accident. Every single aspect of the car is absolutely destroyed here. And this is going to basically guarantee Joe Kimbo the victory. As long as Kimbo doesn't do something catastrophically stupid, he's going to get this victory by default. Because Flavored Adams is about 2/3 of a lap behind. And Striker is moving so slow, Striker's likely going to go a lap down and fall out of the top 3. So Joe Kimbo going to go back-to-back stint victories by the looks of it. All right, DMS Idol and Hilfiger have both gone ahead and jumped into the pit lane. Durluki staying out on track right now, though. That rear tire is at 60%. When Durluki pits, I imagine he'll throw on mediums, and he'll have to deal with no tire fall off, but he's got a track position disadvantage against DMS Idol. AMS Beast is going to be the real interesting one to watch, though. Does he pit again or not? He's at 30% wear. I think Beast might be able to go to the end. The big thing, though, is even if he goes to the end, is he going to be able to stay ahead of Idol? Because Idol now has fresh rubber, will not have to pit again to the end of this. 17 minutes left in the event. So we know that Durluki is going to be pitting shortly. So our focus is going to be on AMS Beast. We're going to go ahead and knock out a Twitch mandated ad break. When we come back, we will be with this race to the end here. We'll be back momentarily. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you back here to Daytona. 15 minutes left here. I am not super confident in Beast's ability to make it to the end. He is fighting right now and makes contact, gets contact made, and he twitches, and he's sideways, and he's into the lap car, and he was trying to overtake. It's the same part of the track these two got into it back in Stint 1, but this time they aren't going to lose it and go sideways. But oh goodness, Beast losing in big amounts of time. But as I was about to say, I am losing confidence in Beast being able to make it to the end on the fuel and tires that he has left. He runs right behind TBR Nico. Nico, mind you, burnt up the... Oh! Nico just body slams him. He is not happy with the way the leader is treating him. But finally, Nico goes a lap down. Nico had a bad set of misshifts early in the event, around like lap 5, had to pit early. And that's why he's been so far off the pace. But that is the second time today we have seen these two get into it with each other. Beast goes ghost mode. Is there some sort of connection issue? Nope. He's back to it now. Don't know what's going on there. Well, as I keep trying to say and then getting distracted, I am losing confidence in Beast being able to make it to the end on the fuel and tires. He has mainly fuel. We have a little less than 14 minutes left and 19% left in the fuel tank. I don't think Beast makes it to the end on the fuel that he has right now. And he's still not been able to pull away from this lapped car of Nico. Oh, in contact! And Beast is off! And into the wall! And sliding sideways! He's back onto the circuit, but still in ghost mode. Comes to a stop. He lunges forward. Is this a connection issue? What is going on? Well, either way, now the car comes to a stop and then accelerates once more. All of a sudden, Idol is back into the fray. It may not be an issue of fuel going to the end. Beast's problem might be connectivity. But ironically, his connectivity issues only seem to crop up when he's around Nico. And mind you, when the two of them got into each other in Stint 1, that was also the only time that Beast had connections issues then as well. But now, Idol has caught Beast. And Idol has no problem with fuel or tires to the end. Beast, with about 13 minutes left, if he so chooses, he could jump in, put on soft tires now, and try and salvage something. He'd probably fall back to about the 4th position in the process. But now that gap that Idol had to make up on Beast is completely gone. And mind you, Beast still is really iffy on his fuel numbers. EMS Creek pits out the 3rd position in the GTO category, so it looks like we may see only Joe Kimball and Flavored Adams finishing on the lead lap out of the GTOs. Watching right now. And Beast has got to consider pitting. He's down to 12.7% in the fuel tank with 12 minutes left. He basically would have to use only 1% of his fuel every minute. That's just not going to happen. Now with how long you spend in a straightaway here, I don't know what Beast's strategy is. It's not like you can short fill and make your pit stop very, very short. You might as well pit at the end of this lap, throw on some soft tires so you don't have any tire fall off whatsoever, and just go bonsai to the end. But it seems like for the 2nd stint in a row, Beast is on a strategy that's not going to work out, even if there wasn't the disconnect issues that he had while trying to get by lap traffic. I think Beast would still be in a position where he'd have to make a 5th stop just off the back of not having enough fuel in the tank. Ironically, I don't think tires are going to be too much of an issue. If these are hards like I think they are, probably could have made it to the end. All right, he's coming in the pits now, so the lead officially goes back to DMS Idol. And Idol is plenty overfilled this time. He should have no issue whatsoever of making it to the end. He's a little bit farther back. Silent Drifter, Leechard, Carbon, and then a little bit farther back, Richard E. Cook all having a fight. So Richard E. Crook all having a fight for 7th through 10th. Leechard trying to go the long way around. Silent Drifter. Drifter's been on a harder tire compound all day long, but it's finally jumped onto the mediums and there's contact! And Leechard's around! And into the outside wall! Coming out of the bus stop chicane! He's backwards, no damage. Well, there's a little bit of engine damage, but he is dead backwards on circuit. And finally, Leechard gets rolling. And now Leechard drops to 10th. He is so far ahead of Nico and Rick, there's not really a risk of him going a lap down. Silent Drifter maintains his 7th position right now, but now he'll have to worry about Richard E. Crook trying to run down on him. Crook, though, is on some very worn-out tires. Although I don't think Drifters is going to be dealing with much better tire life. Oh, no, his tire life is much better. I'll take that back. And then you have All Carbon, who really fell off the back of this group after Leechard's little spin there. So after making his stop, Beast is in 4th position, which is roughly where he anticipated he would be. He'll figure his make the 6th stop strategy, get him up into the 3rd place on track. He's good on fuel, good on tires, but the gap between himself and Derluki is respectably large, to say the least. Although Derluki does seem to be struggling just a little bit right now, keeping the car on track. But I don't anticipate anyone in our top positions are going to have any issues here with running out. So, barring a catastrophic mistake, I think our top 4 are all locked in. Arguably, maybe even our top 5 are all locked in. Really, our highest battle on track is this one here for 7th. Drifter holds the inside. Device has a run. He's going to look to the outside. Side by side for the 7th position. Richard E. Crook is going to complete the overtake before the braking zone, but now has to go the long way around traffic. He'll make it stick. Drifter is going to get around Striker, but now Richard E. Crook makes it up to 7th, and Drifter is now drifted all the way back to 8th. A little bit of contact, though, between traffic, and now Drifter is right there behind Crook all over again. Mind you, again, Crook is on these very, very worn-out tires, 57% wear. Drifter doesn't have to worry about tire life like that, though. AFZ All Carbon paying out of the 11th spot now. Flavored Adams pits out of 2nd position. What has happened to Flavored Adams? Was he involved in an accident? I wonder if he had an accident, because all of a sudden our 2nd place driver is limping around here. And this means that Joe Kim, well, I think Flavored Adams is still going to be on the lead lap. Joe Kimbo now has almost a full lap advantage over the rest of the GTO field. No fuel issue. His tires are going to be burnt out, but he has no fuel issue. So Joe Kimbo is going to go not only back-to-back stint victories, but back-to-back dominant stint victories, being so far ahead of his closest rivals on track. Silent Drifter continues to run just behind Crook here. 6.5 minutes to go. Crook has to be really careful putting the power down. And the thing is that as he is being careful, it's just letting Drifter stay right with him. 62%. He's got 11.8% in the tank with a little bit more than 6 minutes. Is Crook going to have the fuel to go to the end here? Mind you, this duo is way behind 6th place, PTR Device here. And Device doesn't have to worry about fuel or tires to the end. Also, 5th place, AFMG Vorm. Also should not have to worry about fuel or tires to the end either. So there is a possibility that 7th place Crook runs out of fuel, but still, there's no way that Drifter gets any way higher than 7th, barring something catastrophically weird happening to the end. Idle is your leader. Derluki is starting to roll the gap between 1st and 2nd down. As 59% tire life right now, for 60% right now for Idle, your leader. Derluki, who pitted about a lap later, he's only at 37%. He's doing much better on tire management right now. I wonder if Derluki put on a harder set of tires and I just wasn't aware of it. But yeah, so now, as tire life is starting to fall away from Idle, Derluki is running him down. I said earlier in the event, I thought Derluki had the superior strategy, but I thought he didn't have the tire management ability to make it work. But now, as we're coming to the closing moments, the closing minutes of this race, 5 minutes left in this stint, and I am watching Derluki legitimately run down DMS Idol here on circuit. Now, catching is one thing, passing is another, but the big thing is a lot of this is happening off the back of Idol dealing with some incredible tire wear in the back. Fuel should not be an issue. He's got 17% with a little less than 5 minutes left, so he should be fine on fuel. But that tire life is just not looking good for him whatsoever. These last few laps are going to be hell for Idol. $1,001, $1,002, $1,003. I think it's about 4.5 to 5 seconds between these two. If Derluki is closing by a second per minute, basically, which is not the greatest metric to use, but if every minute that passes, Derluki closes the gap by a second, he'll be on Idol, but will not be by him. But if he's closing by more than that, he'll definitely catch him. And Silent Drifter has gotten by Crook here, as Crook's tire problem has become very catastrophic, and he's down to less than 5% in the fuel tank. I don't think Crook is going to have the fuel to make it to the end either. So he might end up falling back behind Leechard. So Leechard, despite that late spin, might still move up. Oh, yep. And Crook is going to abandon the strat. So Leechard will go back into the 8th position by the looks of it. And while we look back at the lead, this is DMS Idol. Again, looking at those rear tires, very worn out. 71%. We have not seen anyone in the prototypes push their tires past the 70.5% mark. So Idol is in uncharted territory right now. Nose to tail between the two. Well, not nose to tail, but I feel like it's going to become nose to tail very shortly here. But now it's less than 3 minutes. Derluki is coming. That car right ahead is Idol. And there's still traffic to navigate as they go through the twisty infield section. About 2.5 minutes to go. GT traffic fighting up there. Oh ho ho! That was magic. They're still struggling here. And now they're nose to tail for the lead. Idol trying to keep Derluki behind as they go through traffic. Oh, contact with one of the Audis side by side. Derluki's to the inside. It wasn't tires that made the decision. It was traffic. Derluki to the lead. Idol slips to second now. 121 seconds left. Derluki now has taken the lead from Idol. For the second time in 2 cents, Idol loses a position in the closing minutes of a run, and his rear tires are at 80%. He just has to try to hold on as Derluki is on the run to bring home the stint win. He is now gapping Idol as Idol is struggling so much putting the power down. And for Idol, he's going to have to go around another entire lap, and these tires are only getting worse and worse. The gap between Idol and Hilfiger is pretty big. But I don't know what Idol's going to be able to do. Every time he gets onto the throttle coming out of these corners, it's going to be feeling absolutely awful for him. He's at 82%, 83% wear as he brakes going into turn 1. He is in completely uncharted territory. So while Derluki is walking off into the distance with the event win, DMS Idol is now desperately hoping that nothing goes wrong just so he can bring home second. But Hilfiger is running him down. Oh boy, is Hilfiger running him down. 61 seconds left here. 85% wear now for DMS Idol. 50 seconds left. His tires are going to be in so much pain as they come onto the straight. Is Hilfiger going to be able to nip DMS Idol? Is this entry going to be locked into back-to-back third-place results? Once off of a fuel miscalculation, this time off of a tire miscalculation. 30 seconds left. Hilfiger has a run. Boy, does Hilfiger have a run. It's not like Hilfiger's got great tires either, but they are a metric ton better than what Idle's got. 20 seconds left through the bus stop chicane. He's gonna be at 90% likely when he comes out of here. Gotta be careful. Here comes Hilfiger. Hilfiger is right there. The 49 is trying to keep the block on Hilfiger. 8 seconds left. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up. Over. Plow. And DMS Idol will barely bring home a second, but your winner is going to be HYZ Derluki in the prototypes, followed by DMS Idol, where his tires at the very end were at 90.9% wear. Third place will go to Hilfiger. Fourth place will go to AMS Beast. Fifth place will go to Vorm, his best result thus far. Sixth will go to PTR Device. Seventh will go to Silent Drifter. Eighth will go to Leechard. Could have been better, but that spin earlier derailed him. Ninth will go to TBR Nico. 10th will go to Richard E. Crook. 11th will be AFZ All Carbon. And 12th will be Neil Rick in the GTO category. Joe Kimbo, again, the only driver to make it a 3-stop event. You look at the amount of fuel and tires that he had left. 14 he could have gone for another few laps. Easy victory over Flavored Adams, who was almost a full lap down to Joe Kimbo. Then in third will be BFL Striker, who had some sort of accident that we completely missed. Just behind him will be Boiled Bird, who will come home in fourth. Fifth will be DMS Greek. And sixth and last will be Stormy. And that will be the end of this stint here. We're going to take a Twitch mandated ad break, and when we come back, hopefully we'll be able to get some post-stint interviews with some of our top finishers in the category. We'll be back shortly here. All right, coming into the party again, it looks like it's going to be Joe Kimbo. Joe, are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can.
Go ahead and include your audio. I'm going to check the stream, let me check the stream and make sure you should be able to include, yes, go ahead and include your audio, Joe.
Yep.
All right, well, Joe, back-to-back dominating wins. Both stints, you are the only driver in your class to only pit 3 times. How in the world are you pulling this off? No one else is able to do what you're doing.
I'm convinced people just have a phobia of the hard tire at this point, leader. But it's been working with our car, and we'll continue to make it work.
All right, it was a gigantic gap that you've pulled on the rest of the field. I have to ask, who's going to take over this car in Stint 3?
This will be TBR Moki.
All right, well, we've seen Moki do pretty solid in the past, so I'll definitely be keeping an eye on that. Make sure you tell him about this big strategy here, because this strategy is really playing some good results.
Everyone's clued up on this already. They know what they're doing.
All right, well, thanks for jumping in and talking with us, mate.
No worries.
We're going to go ahead and try to talk with some other people for post-stint interviews if they're able to jump in. But a lot of people have already moved on, and I imagine there's not going to be a whole lot more drivers that are going to try and talk with us here. I'm going to try and reach out to... All right, coming to the party right now is Flavored Adams. Adams, are you able to hear me? Adams, can you hear me? I am not able to hear you, Adams, if you are saying anything. All right. Flavored Adams, are you able to hear me? Yes, I hear you now. Awesome. Can you hear me? All right, awesome. In the Xbox party, there will be a little box to tick that will say include my audio. Can you go ahead and hit that? If you're on PC, I don't know how much I can help you. The only thing I can say is that, like, in the...
There it is. Yes, it is.
Okay, awesome. Well, Adams, it was an interesting run. It seemed like a lot of the drivers around you had some chaos happen, and you ended up backing into a good top result here in the GTO category. What do you have to say about your run out there?
It was a tough run. I actually threw my setup out 10 minutes before we started. I threw on most stretches tune and just went for it.
Well, you were finally able to get the result that Stretch was not able to in the prior stint. I do want to ask, though, who's going to be taking over that car in the next stint, Stint 3?
I actually don't know. I just know my stints, and that's what I'm showing up for.
All right. Well, I mean, that's a good way to make sure that you don't have to be sweating it or worrying or freaking out over anything else, I guess. So thanks for jumping in, mate, and talking with us. Hopefully you and the rest of your team can continue to have the proper results that you guys deserve after that Stint 1 disconnect.
Hopefully it's smooth sailing from here. Have a good one, bud.
Yep. Farewell. All right. Going to wait just a little bit longer to see if we can get Dorluki to join us in the party. But if not, we'll probably bring our broadcast to an end momentarily here.